Hello CYC viewers, my name is Father Antonius Caldus and welcome to Living Social. The question we're looking at today is why not have a sexual relationship before marriage, particularly if you're engaged to someone and you really love them. Is there anything wrong with doing that? To delve into this topic, we need to ask first, what is the nature and the role of sexuality within our relationships? So let's talk very frankly. Sexuality is not something that's bad, it's not something that's evil. It's actually something that is holy and blessed by God. But like all things in our lives, it can be used in a good way or in a bad way. It can be used to make our lives better and make the world better, or it can be used to do the opposite and bring corruption into the world. So the question we have to ask is, what is the right way to use sexuality? And the church teaches us, and Christ teaches us, that sexuality is a very intimate and a very special way for two human beings created in the image and likeness of God to be united with one another. And because it is such a close and intimate thing, it is meant to be preserved for that one person in your life, your partner, your husband or wife that you will marry. And then the sexuality occurs within a broader context, within the background of a lifelong committed relationship. So that when the husband and the wife give their bodies to each other, they are not just giving the bodies, they're not just doing the same thing that any other creature, any other animal in nature does, but they're doing so on the foundation of a spiritual commitment and an emotional commitment and an intellectual commitment and a social commitment. So in marriage we learn what it means to give ourselves completely to another, and that prepares us as human beings to give ourselves completely to God. So marriage is kind of like the laboratory. It's kind of like where we do the experiment and learn what it means to give ourselves to somebody else. So why not do it before marriage then? Well, there are a lot of things that can go wrong before a marriage. I recall myself when I was at university, one of my university friends, she wasn't Coptic, she was an Australian lady. She was a lovely, lovely lady with wonderful principles, and she was engaged, and very happily engaged. And I remember once, as a group of us were sitting and chatting after a tutorial once, she brought up this question and she said, my fiance wants to have sex, but we're not married yet and I'm not sure whether I should or not. It turned out that this story didn't have a happy ending. She decided that because they were so connected to each other, so committed to each other, that it would be okay. And they did. And sadly, a few months later, things went wrong in the relationship and they broke up. And this poor girl was totally and utterly heartbroken for about a year after that. And this is the problem. Once you are married, there is a commitment there. But while you are engaged, or if you're just getting to know each other, that commitment isn't there yet. The purpose of the engagement is for two people to find out more about each other, to understand each other better, and to work out whether they feel that they are compatible for each other or not. And that takes a long time. What is worse, when sexual attraction becomes too strong in an engaged couple's life, it can cloud their thinking, it can cloud their judgment. So remember that we are not just these computers that think logically. We're not Vulcans like those people on Star Trek. What we are is a mixture of the logical, together with the emotional, together with the physical. And all of those things influence the decisions that we make. And sadly, we sometimes see that a couple may be very much physically attracted to each other. And that physical attraction clouds their judgment in working out whether they are compatible with each other in other ways. Do they think the same? Do they have the same goals in life? Do they care about the same kinds of things? When they're 60 years old and the kids have left the house and they're sitting alone every evening, will they find things in common to talk about and activities to share? They're the kinds of things people need to be working out during that period just before getting married to find out whether they're compatible on all these different levels. And here's the danger. If you're very physically attracted to the person, or even emotionally and physically attracted to the person, you may actually end up marrying someone who's not really your friend. They're just an object of your desire. And then after the desire dies down, which it does in every marriage, trust me, I talked to a lot of married people, then what's going to be left? The judgment was clouded, a bad decision was made, and then that is a thing that you have to suffer through for the rest of your life. And that's not a great idea. And then, of course, there's an even worse consequence that occasionally comes from these situations. Even in today's modern world where everybody knows a lot about contraception and preventing pregnancies, of course there is no foolproof contraceptive method, and that's just a medical fact. Every contraceptive method that we have has a particular failure rate. For some it's slower than others, but it fails. It can fail. And then, of course, if a pregnancy results, what does that do to the relationship? What are the stresses that it puts on the relationship? The social stresses in the community. If you're studying, what effect does it have? There are all sorts of problems that can arise out of that. And once again, I think this is a reflection of the fact that God knew what he was doing when he said that sexuality is an important aspect of the marriage relationship. Because bringing another human being into the world is a huge responsibility. And if we love our children, we will do whatever we can to create for them the best possible environment that we can offer them. And that includes having a mother and a father who are totally and utterly committed to one another and to that family, and to looking after the child that comes from that family. One other point to keep in mind, and sadly, unfortunately, often it's the girls who suffer from this particular danger, and that is that, I hate to say it because I am a man, but sometimes men do let their desires get control of them, and then when they get the thing that they desire, they lose interest in the girl. And sadly, I've seen that happen in my pastoral service over the years, more than I would care for it to have happened. The relationship seems to be wonderful. They give in to temptation, they get very physical, and 2 or 3 weeks later, he wants to call it off. Why? Because the attraction of the thing that he didn't have is now gone. You know how they always say the thing you don't have is the thing you desire the most. Well, once he got it, and it's not because he's a bad person, it's not because he's evil, but that's just how our human minds work and how the male brain works sometimes, occasionally the female brain as well. Now that he's got the thing that he was trying so hard to get, the challenge is gone, the competition is gone, there's nothing to win anymore. And so the dynamics of the relationship change subtly. And then there's a amplification effect, there's a knock-on effect from that to them not talking as much anymore, him not being as interested anymore, and she wonders, why is he not interested in me anymore? She starts to be cranky with him, he starts to think, why is she being so cranky? This is not the girl I started dating. And then in the end, the whole thing breaks down. Really, in the end, as with things as with electronic gadgets that you buy, if you use the gadget according to the maker's instructions, it works really well and it will serve you well for many, many years. And the same goes with sexuality within marriage. If you use it the right way, it is a beautiful, holy and blessed gift. But if you misuse it, and that includes using it before that marriage bond has occurred, then it will break and it will hurt you as well. God bless, and see you next time.